Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Nelda. In today's episode, we're talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation because they've come up with a contraceptive method that will stop women from having pregnancies for 8 years. And so I was reading my news when I came across this and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, scientific discovery. And then I was reading through it and I found out that they're going to be testing this contraceptive method on, you guessed it, Africans. Of course, it's going to be Africans. It was always going to be Africans. And so it's going to start in Kenya, which William Ruto has a lot to answer because why would you let this in your country? And the reason I'm saying this is because the president of Namibia, whose name I have written because I do not want to mispronounce, her name is Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwa. She said, no, it's not going to happen, not in my country. Now, I'm Tanzanian. My president is a woman as well. Her name is Samia Suluhu Hassan. Mrs. Hassan, if you're watching this, please don't let this contraceptive into the country. We're going to look at exactly why, the intricacies of what is happening, how it works, and you guys will agree with me by the end of this video. If you disagree with me, tell me in the comment section. But before we get into how exactly this is going to work, there's 5 key statistics that I think you should know just to situate this conversation. The first one is, did you guys know that 70% of maternal deaths in the world are on the African continent? Did you know? Because I just found out a couple weeks ago when I was doing research and I was gagged, which means it basically means that if you have 10 women who have died from childbirth, 7 of those women were in Africa. Guys, there is 7 continents. We can discount Antarctica, but there's 6 continents and 7 women are from the African continent. Very unserious behavior. Not only that, but if you take 10 women who have died during childbirth on the African continent, 3 of them are going to be from Nigeria. Nigerians, you guys are good at music. You guys are good at entrepreneurship. I'm sure you can fix maternal deaths in your country. And not just that, because I can already sense, because my audience is mostly men, you can already be like, oh, why should I watch this video? I'm gonna click out as well because I'm not a woman. This doesn't matter to me. Well, if your mom died when she was giving birth to you, and I apologize if your mom actually did pass away during childbirth, but maternal health matters because every single human being has come from a woman's body, whether you like it or not. And I'm building a community of people who are curious, so this topic matters. And I'm building a community of people who care, So we need to care about our women. We need to care about what goes on into their bodies because all of us will interact with a woman at some point. I'm sure you guys have sisters, you guys have mothers, you have female friends, you have daughters, and this matters. The other statistic that I think is very interesting is that the average age of giving birth, like first time pregnancies, is 19 years old. 19 years old. What do 19-year-olds know about giving birth? Now, maybe it's just me, but when I was 19, I had, if I became a mom at 19, that child, it would be a child raising a child, technically speaking. These people are still teenagers. And you guys know the way averages work because you guys are so smart. But if 19 is average, that means there's people above and then there's people below. Because there's ages as young as 11 and 12. Imagine an 11-year-old getting pregnant. Crazy work. Another key statistic, very shocking. Did you guys know that only 42% of women in the African continent give birth in hospitals or clinics? 42%. This would explain why we have so many maternal deaths. And you could argue, oh yeah, it could be safer to give birth at home. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about what doctors do in the hospitals. Sure. But I think there's a very important correlation here between the number of people who are giving birth in hospitals and the number of women who are dying. So that is just one. The other thing that would explain the high maternal deaths is, did you guys know that on the African continent, there is only 1.5 nurses/midwives for every 1,000 women giving birth? And that doesn't make sense because you'd be like 1.5, that doesn't make sense. Let's double it. That means there is 3 nurses for 2,000 women. 3 nurses! Do you guys know what 2,000 people look like? And imagine 3 nurses having to run around. These women are screaming, they're in pain. We don't have enough to be able to take care of our women when they're giving birth. And birth, guys, it's how we all came into the world. It's a miracle how women are able to push babies out of themselves. So these are very important. And the other key statistic that I just wanted to finish with is that the median travel time to a clinic is 2.38 hours, which is roughly 2 hours and like 20 minutes. That's how long it takes a woman to get to a clinic in Africa, like a median. And to get to a delivery hospital, so a hospital that they can actually deliver in, and if there's complications, they have the right tools, 3.69 hours. That's roughly 3 hours and like 45 minutes or so. So this is very important to show that there is actually a big issue. And this is where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation comes in, because they were like, we have seen the problem. We're going to solve it for you guys. We're going to introduce a contraceptive pill that is going to take 8 years to undo. And I'm very concerned for multiple reasons. The first one is, Why Africa? Why Africa? Why Africa? Sure, we have the worst maternal rate, that, like I said, but you could try this on other people. You could. That's the first concern that I have. Concern number 2 that I have with this contraceptive from Bill Gates is 8 years. Do you guys not see a problem with that? 8 years? Imagine taking away, because the way they're framing this is that, oh, we're going to be giving women, we're going to empower women to have reproductive access and reproductive freedom. What is so freeing not being able to give birth when you're in a period of 8 years? What is so freeing about that? Because I heavily disagree. And the other reason I have a very big concern about this, and shout out to the president of Namibia, she said, no, it's not going to happen, not in my country. Because William Ruto from Kenya, who we've spoken about as well, because he opened up the country to everybody and their moms. Yes, the UN headquarters are moving to Kenya. Good thing, we applaud them. But now, this program is going to start in Kenya. Kenyans, you need to be very careful with this. But they tried Namibia, and the president of Namibia, her name is Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah. She's a woman, of course. Great power. Love it. My president in Tanzania is also a woman, Mrs. Samia Suluhu Hassan, Her Excellency. Please don't let this into the country, because I can only imagine a 12-year-old girl who is sexually active for some reason when you're 12 years old, and she ends up getting access to one of these contraceptive methods, and she has lost access to being able to give birth. But sure, it will be until she's 20. But we don't even know the long-term effects of these contraceptive methods. Now let's get into what exactly these contraceptive methods are, because I've listed them down here. Now, the first one is a hormonal IUD, which is a hormonal intrauterine device. Sounds very fancy schmancy, but I know my biology, guys. I got you, and you guys are smart. We got this. It just basically means they insert this little thing. It looks like a T, and they insert it into a woman's uterus, and it has multiple functions. The first one is it will release a hormone called progestin, and what it does is it will stop ovulation. If that can't be stopped, it will thicken the cervical mucus, so the mucus within the birthing environment, basically. And that means if a woman does end up having intercourse, the sperm will be stopped from the mucus. But if some strong sperm somehow end up passing through the barrier, if fertilization should occur, then they will not be able to plant that egg onto the uterine lining. Because the other thing that the hormonal IUD does is that it makes the uterine lining so thin that implantation can't occur. So that's basically what it does. And you're telling me that this is the best possible solution to all the maternal challenges that Africa has? I don't think so. It just doesn't make sense. The other one that I'm most concerned about is that they have also introduced self-injectable contraceptive. The clinical term now is DMPA-SC, which sounds very dystopian if you ask me. And this is self-injectable. Okay, one of the ways they're going to put this is there's a patch. It has like microneedles, and it will give you 6 months of protection. And this is going to be rolled out in 35 different countries, including Kenya, of course, Uganda, of course, and Nigeria, of course. Like, very unserious situations are going to happen in here. Imagine giving access to something like this to teenagers who are in school. Instead of teaching them about sex education, that you should keep your legs closed, or if you're going to keep them open, ensure that you have other contraceptive methods and not trying to insert hormones into your body, which is still growing. I'm very angry about this, if you can't tell, because it doesn't make sense to roll this out as a way to solve the maternal health challenges that the continent is facing. Now, if you ask me, Nelda, what if it were you? What if you had $2.5 billion in your account? First of all, guys, I promise, when I become a billionaire, I will remember you guys. I will. And I will use some money for the good of the continent. What I would do if I were Bill Gates and I had all his money in the world and I wanted to actually solve challenges to do with maternal health care in Africa, I would focus on ensuring that we have as many healthcare workers as possible. That would be my go-to strategy. I told you guys in the beginning of the video, there is only 3 midwives for 2,000 women. That's the ratio on the continent. I would focus on educating a lot of midwives. I know so many women who are willing to become nurses, but it's just they don't have the funds, they don't have the access to education. Bill Gates could use his $2.5 billion that he's setting aside to actually educate, roll out scholarship programs, take people to school, make sure we have healthcare workers, make sure that we are rolling out sex educational programs in school, not trying to inject hormones into the bodies of teenagers. Because imagine people getting access to this. And the reason I'm also very passionate about this is because of the illiteracy rates on the continent. There are so many people who don't know how to read and write. I can already envision how this is going to be rolled out, and people are not really going to know the consequences. And again, like I said, we don't know the long-term effects. It doesn't make sense why this is being tried on us. So that's what I would do. I don't think I think it's a good thing to empower women, yes, to have reproductive choices in what they do with their bodies, but I don't think it's a good idea to present something like this in front of them and be like, oh, okay, for the next 8 years, you're not going to be able to give birth if you take this. If a woman is desperate, she is going to take it. And I don't think that is necessarily empowering them. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies about this. We're not going to get into it because I want to keep the video nice and short for you guys. But one of the biggest conspiracy theories here is that this is something to do with population control. And it doesn't make sense to me, because if people are saying, oh, the world is overpopulated, which I have debunked, by the way, I'll link the video up here. I don't think the world is overpopulated. But if you think it is, then that would explain why you're trying to roll out these contraceptive methods on the African continent. But why don't you go take it to China and India and Pakistan? Because they're the ones who are giving birth every day, like God knows how much. So this is unfair, and I don't think this is something that needs to be supported. If I were president of Tanzania in 15 years, when I'm president of Tanzania, if somebody brings this on my table, I will kick it out of my face, because it's not a good program. And Bill and Melinda Gates, if you're watching this, you can hire me as a policymaker. I promise I'll use the money well. I will actually educate people. I will actually go deal with the sex education. I'll go funnel it into healthcare workers, make sure we have good hospitals. Like $2.5 billion, you could build a hospital from that. Why come up with a contraceptive pill? Why spend the money in research? Like, who wants to not be able to give birth in 8 years? I mean, there are women who don't want to give birth altogether. Sure, they can go ahead and just snip, get everything closed and tied. But if somebody just wants a temporary contraceptive method, 8 years sounds like a very long time. So, no. If you guys are curious about my opinion, it's no, we need to build a wall, the way Trump says it. But that is all for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think, because I think a lot of you actually agree with me, but I'm even more interested in those who disagree, those who think it's a good idea, especially if you're a man, because I know a majority of you guys are men. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is a good idea that Bill Gates is rolling out this contraceptive method, 8 years, no pregnancies? Does it make sense? But let me know what you think. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, to share, to comment, and you'll see me in the next video. Bye.